On behalf of Pune International Center, I warmly welcome you all here for this special literary evening, the launch of the Rajwada Poisonings, a gripping new crime thriller by acclaimed author and journalist Neeta Jatar Kulkarni. Tonight we step into a world where secrets hide behind palace walls, where history whispers through corridors, and where every clue may lead to either truth or deeper deception. Crime fiction has always fascinated readers because it is just beyond mystery. It examines the human nature, ambition, betrayal, and morality. This evening's conversation will explore not only the making of a compelling thriller, but it would also look into the art of storytelling. We are honored to have with us distinguished guests and literary enthusiasts who have joined us for this engaging conversation. To formally begin the evening, may I invite Aarti Kirloskar, Dr. Ajit Ranade, Vishal Soni, Bharat Agarwal, our moderator Amita Bambawale, and our author Neeta Kulkarni to please come forward for the official book launch. I would also like to invite Suman Kirloskar for the book launch. Please, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Rajwada Poisonings. Thank you, everyone. Every crime novel begins with a question, a mystery that refuses to stay silent until its truth is uncovered. But behind every mystery lies a writer's imagination, observation, and understanding of the human behavior. To share the inspiration behind this story and the novel, its themes, and the journey of bringing this story to life, I now invite author of Rajwada Poisonings, Neeta Kulkarni, to set the context. Before that, I would also like to take some time to introduce our author. Ms. Neeta is a journalist and writer who has worked full-time for several publications like The Economic Times and Business Today. She has freelanced for The Telegraph, The New Indian Express, and The Times of India, as well as numerous other publications. Her debut novel, the crime thriller The Hawa Mahal Murders, won a prize at the Pune International Literary Festival. And her second publication, The Rajwada Poisoning, is also a crime thriller. Ma'am, I request you to please come on the stage and address the gathering.
Hello, I'm Neeta, and thank you all for coming here for my book launch of the Rajwada Poisonings. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I'm really happy to meet all of you here, and the fact that you all are supporting me in my journey as an author. And I also see some new faces, and that's very exciting also. So thank you all. And of course, a special thanks to Aarti Kirloskar for launching my book, and also to Mr. Vishal Soni for publishing my book, and Amita Bambawale for doing the Q&A with me, and who else? I think, is Mr. Dina Kholkar here also? Okay. It's okay. So anyway, thank you to all the PIC, the team, the whole team who has worked very hard over the last couple of weeks to organize this program. Thank you. And I'm also supposed to say a little bit something about my novel. So I can't give away too much, but I do want to say one thing is that it's a treasure hunt. The whole book, the theme is a treasure hunt for an historical treasure. That is, I think some of you may have heard of Nana Sahib Peshwa. There was that legend about his treasure. He was the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II, and after Peshwa Bajirao II passed away, the British never really recognized Nana Sahib as his heir. So Nana Sahib got into a rebellion with the British, and it is said that he ran away to Nepal with thousands, I mean, a treasure which is now would have been worth thousands and thousands of crores, which he carried away on 8 elephants. I mean, witnesses have seen that. Now, this treasure was never found. It's one of the most enduring mysteries of Indian history. So I found this story very fascinating, and my book is based on that. There were several characters who are trying to find this treasure, and the story is really about people wanting the treasure for their own reasons, and what are the moral lines that they are willing to cross to get this treasure. Now, just one more tiny thing is about the protagonist. Both the male and female protagonists, they are, I think I should first say that I grew up in a family where I had the freedom to do whatever I wanted. So I deliberately chose a character who didn't have those privileges and who had to struggle to stand on her own feet. So the story is about her and also about a police officer who is struggling against the system. Okay. So, okay, I'll just take my purse.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for setting the context and giving a sneak peek into this interesting book. To further explore the nuances of crime fiction, storytelling, imagination, and the social dimensions of suspense literature, we now move forward into a moderated conversation between our author and our moderator for the evening, Amita Bambawale, an educator, teacher trainer, reading specialist, and an author herself. She brings a thoughtful and engaging perspective to this literary discussion. Amita ma'am, the mic is all yours. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it on? Thank you. He turned it on. So at the start, let's applaud Neeta again. On the launch of her second crime thriller. So congratulations, Neeta.
Thank you.
And we all know it's a crime thriller, so there are going to be no spoilers because most of you have just bought the book, so there are going to be no spoilers. So our discussion is mainly going to focus on the craft of writing and some other elements of any piece of fiction writing. So there are various elements, there are characters, there is the setting. So that's what we will talk about, and mainly on Neeta's process and the craft of writing in general. So in this room, I think everyone is a reader. But I'm sure there are people who are also writers. How many of you are writers who, or let's say like to write? Let's just say like to write, even if you're not a published writer. Right. So most of our writing tends to be various things like blogs or reflections or diaries or social media posts, journal articles, and things like that. A few, and I am full of admiration for them, a few like Nita are into writing short stories and fiction. For myself, I love to write. I still balk at calling myself a writer. So I'll just say I like to write. My writing, what I have written, is not in the fiction or the non-fiction space. It is in the artistic space. So, however, if I wrote something in any other space, it would be non-fiction. Fiction for me is really daunting. How many of you are short story writers or who write fiction? Wow, wonderful. But very few. So why do I find fiction writing daunting? For me, it is a space that is, see, the thing about writing, it is a creative endeavor, but writing, fiction writing especially, can never happen in a void. It never happens in a vacuum. We are always drawing from life, real life experiences, real life people. So it's never in a void. And that is what I find daunting. It's my experiences, my personal experiences, people I know who are close to me that I will draw inspiration from. Or there are other people's experiences, my observations, that I will draw inspiration from. And this is what I find very daunting. Am I willing to talk about my personal experiences in a book, no matter that I cloak it well, use fictitious names, etc.? Am I willing to do that? The other thing is when I use other people that I know as my characters, how will they feel about it? Will they recognize themselves? And this for me is very frightening. So I'm going to ask Nita, because there have been instances where writers have been sued for defamation by characters who recognize themselves in the writer's book. So my question to you, Nita, my first question to you is, has this occurred to you? Does this frighten you? And then I'll follow up with how exactly you develop your characters. Because that is where the real skill comes in. That is where your creativity comes in. As I said, creativity doesn't ever happen in a vacuum or in a void. It always builds on something else. But developing characters is definitely it's a skill. And it is creativity. So tell us about that.
Okay. Initially, when I wrote my first book, this did frighten me because I was living in Juhu and in a building where there were quite a few celebrities living in my building and around. So I admit I did use them as references in my first book, and I used to always worry that they might read my book. But then later on, I realized that I needn't have worried, because how much do we really know our neighbors, or you don't really know them from inside. So what you generally do is you take the behavior of people, like say mannerisms or the way of speaking, or maybe some peculiar habit that they have. In fact, when I'm traveling, I'm always making notes. I observe people, and in fact, I must tell you one story about this man we met on one of our tours. He had this weird habit of laughing after every sentence. And I don't mean like a chuckle. He would say a sentence and go, ha ha ha, like, it sounded so weird. I thought, wow, now I've really got some fantastic mannerism to make my character appear unique. So in fact, in this book, I really tried very hard to incorporate that particular mannerism into one of my characters. And then when I reread it, it sounded so weird. It just it wasn't coming across as authentic. So then I had to tone it down. So I've really come to the conclusion that real life are just like, you can take them as, maybe you can get an idea, but actually you have to just use your imagination, So uh, you can't really replicate a real life person.
True. You can't completely replicate, but I'm sure you kind of amalgamate various people's characters and
Yes.
mannerisms that you
Yes.
have observed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bring them all together.
I do that. And you know, there's a reason for that. Because I may know that character really well in my head. But now a reader, it doesn't. So that character has to stand out, kind of leap out from the page. And so you have to exaggerate that character a little, make a good person like really good, heroic, and a bad person really evil. So then you do tend to take the characteristics of different people. Like all of us, I mean, none of us, even the good people, we don't have all the good qualities, definitely not. So, but if you take 2, 3 people, somebody's extreme generosity or somebody's extreme bravery, and then you put that into one person, that person really stands out and he kind of leaps out from the page. So that's what I do. So now I'm much more confident. I mean, regarding your first question, that I don't worry about this real life people recognizing themselves, because I realize that I don't really do that. Maybe people in non-fiction do that. It's possible, because when you're writing, then you are giving names and you're talking about them.
Yeah, in non-fiction, you are talking
You-
about
exactly.
real people, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But honestly, characters in a piece of fiction writing have to, as Neeta says, jump out at you. They have to be living, breathing, actual people, because it's not just a patchwork of traits you put together just for the purpose of the book. They really have to seem
Yes.
alive
Yes.
to the reader.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, on to my next question, Neeta, and don't mind if I pull your leg a little because I know you so well. Why are you into crime writing? Because you are a very sweet, innocent, uncomplicated, not terribly manipulative, not terribly devious person.
Yeah, you are right. I am
So-
too straightforward for my own good. So, but you know, I'll tell you why.
Is it a reflection of your alter ego, maybe?
Oh yeah, Satish, I know you are going to say that. No, but actually, I'll tell you. You have to decide whether you feel whether I'm right, because sometimes we don't know ourselves that well. But you know, I have, ever since I was younger, I am a very oversensitive, and I mean, that's why I'm nice to people, by the way, because I know how much it hurts when someone is mean. So I really take care not to hurt somebody's feelings. I may do it inadvertently. So what I'm saying is, whenever I was to read about crime, I used to find it very disturbing. I mean, if you read about horrendous crimes, I find it so disturbing. I used to think about it for days on end, or I couldn't sleep at night. And especially murder. A murder, I think, is like the worst crime ever. And serial killers are even worse, because they are not killing for the sake of any monetary reason. They are doing it for the sheer pleasure of it. I mean, they are doing it, maybe it's some sort of a compulsion. So I started reading about serial killers because I wanted to know why. I mean, why would one human being do this to another? So this happened quite some time back, about 15 years ago. I started thinking about this and trying to find out the causes. And this is a little aside, but I found out that in developed countries, the serial killers are the maximum. And USA has the highest number of serial killers. If you look at the percentage of population, then all the developed countries, Australia, Canada, Japan, they all have a higher proportion of serial killers as compared to the population. And the reason, apparently, is because of the alienation that these people feel. They're obviously very mentally disturbed. So they feel alienated from society. Now, our Indian society, that way, we have much more community, we have larger families, and we have good relationships with neighbors, and people are coming and going, from the home. So if there is a mentally disturbed individual, there's a likelihood of that person having a safety net. But this doesn't mean that we don't have serial killers in India. We have, and I have written about that. But that is not the only thing I write about. I also write a lot about this nexus between the police and politicians and the criminals. Now that I feel is something which is very endemic to India, and the reason why a lot of crimes, they go unsolved is because of this. Like in 2006, there was some Supreme Court directives to insulate the police from political interference. Now 20 years have passed and hardly anything has been done. So in my first book, I have explored this a great deal, but even in my second book, this is there. So, to answer your question, when I write about these things, when I research about these things, these characters who I develop, I know why they're doing it, which in real life you don't know why, but I know why. And then I find a solution to it. I solve the crime and I punish the bad people, and everything has a happy ending, and it is so satisfying that I can say it is a kind of therapy for me. So that is it.
Yeah, so yes, I can see your point about feeling alienation within the society they live in. So this is about high context and low context cultures. We are like a high context culture. There's so much more human contact, and the weather, the climate makes a lot of difference. So yes, that could be a reason for more serial murders in more developed countries. Yeah. So then, do you think there is a difference between crime writing or writing a crime fiction and writing other fiction, like could be romantic fiction, or it could be adventure fiction, or it could be historical fiction on the one hand, and crime fiction on the other? And if there is, just tell us what the difference is, and if there is, then what is your process? How do you, where do you begin? What is your method of writing a crime fiction novel?
Okay. See, most people who read fiction, they're doing it for entertainment. They read because they want to read about action, adventure, and also because maybe people who read literary novels, they probably want some emotional engagement with different perspectives. Now, crime fiction may have all these or may not, but it definitely has one element which is unique, and that is the puzzle solving element. So you can get into the book with the detective, hunt for clues, and try to solve the mystery. And that itself makes it very challenging for the writer, because you have to place the clues at strategic points in the novel. You can't place it too early or you can't place it too late. It has to be timed perfectly. And in fact, it's like both timing and precision. It's like a logistics exercise, and in the end, all these clues have to add up, and you have to have no loose ends. So in a way, crime fiction has more structure than the other kind of novels, because you have a crime, then you have an investigation, and then you have a conclusion. But to tell you frankly, even though I do this, I do that in the second draft. My method, which you had asked me about, my method is not this, because what crime writers often do, they write down the whole events in a grid or maybe in a short outline, and they know the end before they really start writing, and then they write the whole book. Now, I don't do it that way. I develop, the only thing I pre-plan are my characters. I try to make them as vivid as possible. And then I let them decide I let them, so the problem with this is, okay, you have an obstacle and then the character, because I know that character so well. By the way, I make files on characters. So like color of the hair, even birth date, though you don't really need that in a novel. But it's just that that character has to be very clear in my head. So right from birth date, color of hair, mannerism, way of speaking, and most important, the goal. The goal of the character is what will make that person react in a particular way to an event. So what happens is that because of this process, generally I take a very long time to write, and the number of words, like they go to 700-800 pages. And a lot of time is wasted. And then when I go back to the second draft, I find that I have a lot of unnecessary characters whom I have to delete. And then I have my main characters kind of going out for coffee and just chatting, which has nothing to do with the main plot. And then I have to delete those scenes. And I can tell you from the point of view of writers, that is so heartbreaking for me to delete a character and even to delete scenes, because you may think, I have written such a beautiful sentence, and then you have to just get rid of that. So you can say my characters, they become my friends, and when I finish the book, I feel very sad because I'm not going to meet them again. So that is it.
But when you, let's say you delete a character, or you delete 2 or 3 characters, don't you have to rework a lot of the writing? Rework it, because those characters they have a part to play in your final solution, or in the mystery or the murder.
If they do, then I can't delete it, but sometimes I give their role to somebody else. Like, for example, like if you, in this story, I have this Rajwada. You have many people living in the Rajwada. So I may have a lot of unnecessary characters, one of whom is giving out a clue. Then I find that's the only thing that character is doing. So then I give that role to somebody else. That's what I do. Because, even readers don't like it to have too many characters. In fact, in my first book, I think I had a lot of characters, and I did get some feedback that there are too many characters. So this time I was more careful. Yeah.
Yeah, because in a murder mystery or a crime thriller, it's hard to keep track of so many characters, I think.
Yes, it is. So that's why I have these files on them. So I sometimes forget myself. So then I have to just check.
So you keep separate files on each character?
Yes.
In which you develop that character?
Yes, absolutely. And style of speaking and everything. But the main characters, like 2-3 main characters. Not
like
all.
how much? Now this is for the people who would like to write fiction and crime fiction. How much of detail do you put into each of these files?
Well, as I mentioned, even the birth date, though that never really, I don't celebrate that birthday, but I have to know. I have to know which month she was born in, and I have to know what is like this guy's favorite color, and what is his hairstyle, and each one of us uses some words again and again, So those kind of things. I write everything.
That's really interesting, because those details might be useful while you're writing the plot also.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely right. Okay.
So that's about characters, but about the setting, I think the setting is as important as the characters, because a reader has to actually feel the setting with all 5 senses. If you're talking about an alley which is just a few feet, few feet wide, and the character was kind of had to go sideways, and there were rats in the alley, and there was a stench in the air. All of that, so with all 5 senses, the reader has to feel it. Only then he can completely immerse himself or herself in that setting and in your novel. So the setting is very important as the characters. He can actually immerse himself, the reader can immerse himself or herself in the book and actually live it and breathe it. When the setting is a place that is accessible to the layman, it can be an airport or a mall or a school or the street, then it's easier. But your title is the Rajwada Poisonings. So I'm thinking that the setting is a Rajwada.
Yes.
Right? Now that is a very special kind of setting. A lay person would have to do a lot of research into a Rajwada, right? What are the ins and outs and what is the structure, etc., the secret passages, this and that, and all other details. What about you? What about you? I know you. So I know that you are from an old Pune family and you have some of this in your background, that some of this is familiar to you. But tell our audience about how easy or how difficult was it for you to work with the Rajwada as a setting?
Well, to tell you frankly, when I knew that in my story there was a Rajwada, and I'll tell you frankly, the first person I thought of was my friend Yasho, who's, I think she's here, Yashodhara Naik Nimbalkar. She comes from the Fulton royal family. So she was the first person I thought of. And I thought, wow, she actually has a Rajwada in her family. So that was my thought, to try and go there. And then later on when I was thinking, why should I do that? When I have my own Rajwada, my mom, she comes from the Purandare family, which, and my ancestor was Ambaji Pant Purandare. He was correct? Sardar. He was a Sardar. By the way, her great grandfather from the paternal side was also Sardar. So Sardar Purandare. So then I realized, why go to Fulton when I have, sorry about that, but when I have my own Rajwada, and okay, my ancestors were not royals like hers were. They were not royal. They were, in fact, much lower down. But they had a fabulous Vada in Kasba Pet, and it was no less than a Rajwada. And we, as children, we used to go there, all of us cousins, and we used to spend our days there, and scores of rooms. It was just fabulous. And I had a lot of nostalgia for that Vada. So I decided to make that a Rajwada. And with a few tweaks, of course, I had to add a few secret passages because if there weren't any, I didn't know if there were any in that. Though they did say that there was a tunnel from our Vada to the Shanwar Vada, but nobody ever really has authenticated that. So that's your answer, hopefully.
Right. And also this Rajwada, how much of your plot, how much of the story happens in the Rajwada?
Actually, most of the setting happens there. I mean, most of the story does take place there. And there are a couple of other scenarios also. But in that town, and there are, but anyway, I don't want to say anything more because that would give away the story. So,
no spoilers.
No spoilers. Okay.
I have, before I open it out, I'm sure there are lots of questions that you would like to ask, but before I open it out, I'm going to ask one or two questions that I have a personal interest in getting answers to. One is about writer's block. There are various reasons why people have writer's block. For me personally, writer's block happens mainly because I want to write about a lot of things. I just don't know what to kind of zero in on and write about. There are so many different topics, so many different subjects, so many different things I want to write about, and maybe it's laziness and lack of focus that and I just leave it at that. Oh, there are too many things to write about that I would like to write about, and so just leave it. So it doesn't happen. For you, do you experience writer's block? And if you do, why does it happen? And how do you overcome that?
Well, I wish I could say I never had it, but it's not so common. I'll tell you that I feel very intensely about things. I mean, you have no idea about everything. And when you feel so intensely, you have to write it down. Otherwise, you can't, what can you do? I mean, I'm not a aggressive person, or I don't like to fight with people, but I probably would if I didn't write. So, I have to, it has to come out. And, but I find that whenever there are too many things happening in my life, too much socializing or just too much of stuff, parties and stuff, then I can't write. Because then I keep thinking, those voices of those people, they keep sort of echoing in my head. I keep hearing those voices. Like if I go to a party, then next whole day, I'm just thinking those voices are just echoing in my head. I can't write. So if I do that for 2-3 days, then I find that next 1 week I find it difficult to write. But I don't worry about it too much because I love meeting people. And I think I consider myself quite social. And I wasn't so earlier, but I am now. And I enjoy meeting people, and it's a break. I don't take writer's block seriously. It's a break, like a holiday. That's it.
Great. You once said that you live inside your head. So yes, if the socializing kind of gets to you, then it's all going around in your head, and then you're not able to work on your writing of your book.
Yes.
But tell me about writer's block. When you start to write and when you're in the middle of it, how do you overcome it? You just wait for those voices in your head that have come from too much partying and socializing to go away? Or is there some other method? Do you kind of soldier on, and are you just very kind of stubborn and you say, no, I have to sit down? Are you so disciplined that you sit down and make yourself continue?
Yes, I do have that. In the sense, even like suppose now I feel, okay, you take a break for maybe 1 week and then you realize that your manuscript is being neglected, then you lose touch with the people you are writing about. So yes, so then I decide that I have to write, even if it's 2 lines, I force myself to write. I do that. But nothing much happens, but I do that. I just sit for 1 hour and write 2 lines. I do that.
So when you are dealing with writer's block and you write those 2 lines, eventually you might delete them. They are not contributing that much to moving your story forward.
Yes, absolutely. I take a very long time to write. This is the reason. One thing I told you, I write a bloated manuscript, delete a lot of stuff, delete half the book finally.
So in this book, how much of the manuscript did you delete and condense it to?
2/3. Yeah. I write a lot. I just love to write. And actually, when I first started writing, I didn't care if anybody would publish it. I just like to write, that's all. It's like, I used to write diaries when I was a kid. I have a whole suitcase. They could make a novel. Now, when I realized, I met one of my school friends after a very long time, and then I realized, oh yeah, I had some kind of a scrap with her in the 7th grade. Then I went back and found that diary, and I found the reason why I had that scrap. So, everything is written down.
That's really interesting. And I've often heard advice to writers in the making, advice saying that just write. As you were saying, just write every day. Make it a habit to write every day, even if it's a paragraph, even if it's 2 lines, as you said.
Absolutely.
So Yeah, that is a
Yeah,
very
you have
valuable
to.
input.
Absolutely. You have to have your own, how much time are you willing to give yourself? 1 week, that's for me the maximum I give myself. Yeah.
Right.
Holiday, I mean.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I had another question for you. That was, if you were to write some other, if you were to write your next book, would it still be crime or would you try something else? Would you try a different kind of fiction writing? And what would it be?
Actually, I am a science fiction fan. So I'm definitely going to write a science fiction book, but probably it will get published when I'm 80 years old at the rate I'm going. It's going to take a long time. I haven't even started. So, but that's an idea in my head, yeah. Science fiction.
I'm not a great fan of science fiction, so forgive me if I don't read that one, but this one I will read. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
So I'm looking at, I'm sure you have lots of questions to ask Neeta. So I'm going to point to and do we have a mic for the audience? Okay. So the mic will come to you and just put your hand up and I will point to you. Try and one hand is already up. Okay. So the gentleman here in the fourth row, just keep your comments short and your question, give that the maximum time.
Hi.
It's not on. It's not on.
Yeah. So a quick question. During your talk, you mentioned that you keep notes or you keep a character in mind, and you write a whole lot about the character. Now, when you talk about crime, police is one of the important characters in the entire crime scene. So, when you write the character of a police, do you do research on the internet to get that character, or do you actually talk to real police or real cops?
Well, I always talk to real cops, and in fact, the person I talked to was the CPO police in my friend's husband, Datta Padsalgikar. I don't know whether you must have heard of him. He was quite a famous cop. He gave me a complete understanding of how the police work, because when you're writing crime, you have to understand how the police work. You have to know how forensics works. So I did that, and then he gave me a compliment that you've just got it right, how the police work. So it's all thanks to Datta. I did that. Yeah, and of course, online there is stuff available, but there is nothing like actually meeting a police officer and getting the information from him. Yeah.
I remember, Anita, once we were going somewhere and you saw a police chowki or something, and you said, this is what I want to put into my book. Do you remember that?
The way it looked, yes, the description.
Yeah. So Neeta, one thing about Neeta is, and I told her this, even in her normal life, I find that she's there physically, but a lot of the time she's processing what someone has just said and how it can be used in her writing.
Yes, absolutely
Yeah.
right.
So you have to be very observant and you have to be there, as I said, with all your senses.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have.
thank you. Amita, your comment reminded me, somebody, in any event, they say, oh, I should tweet about it. So when you say, it should be in my book. But congrats, Neeta. Congratulations. My short question, who is your favorite crime fiction author and why?
Well, if you ask me, I haven't read too much of crime fiction, but I would say maybe Agatha Christie. I have read her books a lot. But yeah, Agatha Christie, I guess. But my books are not like hers. I mean, I don't want that to give that. My books are more, her books are very plot driven, while my books are more character driven.
So maybe like P.D. James or
I have read
someone,
P.D.
yeah,
I have read
someone
P.D.
like
James.
that.
Yes. But, there's one lady.
Those are more psychology driven.
There's one, unfortunately, I was trying to remember when he asked that question. There is one author who I've read 2 of her books. They're fantastic. I think some Rebecca, somebody, she's a crime author. But I don't remember her name right now, sorry. But yes, a more psychological thriller. I prefer those because mine is a kind of a psychological thriller.
Hi, Neeta. My
yeah.
question is that poison is a very.
Who is asking that?
I'm Medha. Yeah. Neeta's cousin. I grew up with her in the in the Wada.
He almost said
So-
Rajwada, yay.
No, it was a Rajwada.
Yeah.
Anyway, my question is regarding the title, Rajwada Poisonings. Poison is a very quiet and very deadly and lethal murder weapon, I would say. So it's a very difficult, when a crime takes place with poison, it's very difficult to investigate and even to prove. So I just want to ask you that how come you chose poisoning as a murder weapon in your book?
Well, poisoning is like more mysterious because you don't have to be physically present when you poison somebody. You can be in Delhi and you can poison somebody in Pune. So that gives you much more, gives the poisoner more difficult to find the poisoner in that sense. And another thing is that there are so many poisons, hundreds and hundreds. And our forensic labs, they only test for some 4-5 poisons because each test costs like a lot. So if you use an unusual poison, the chances are that the police are never going to find it. So I wanted something like that.
Yeah, so that the what do you say, the murderer gets away with it many a times.
Many a time, if it's an unusual poison, yes.
Yeah, and also it's not very gory and morbid also.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like gore. By the way, my books don't have any gore. Like it's, I don't like violence. I mean, like in these movies like Durandar and all. I don't like that. That
She
is,
prefers poison.
I prefer poison. Yes.
Thank you.
It's not gory. But
Yeah.
then did you, Neeta, a question, did you, like you spoke to the police, when you were doing research for your book, did you speak to doctors? Because this is Rajwada Poisonings. Did you speak to doctors and get any sort of, that kind of medical sort of input?
In my first book I did, not in this one. In fact, I spoke to somebody who was my relative. I have lots of doctors in my family. And generally, because when a person, I didn't want my book to be unrealistic. Like when the hero gets beaten up, you find in movies he's beaten up, and then in the next 24 hours, he's roaming around as if he's absolutely not wounded. So I didn't want to do it that way. I wanted it authentic. So I asked for injuries which are not, because I didn't want my hero to just be totally confined to bed. So then I did ask a doctor, what are, like when you are beaten up, then what are the injuries which will enable you to move around and do your job still? So those kind of questions I did. I have talked to doctors, yes.
But about poisons?
About poisons, no. Because again, if I tell you the answer, then I'm going to...
Okay, no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah, Neeta, this is Dr. Avinash Purandare, your cousin. One thing I wanted to ask you is, a lot of this Rajwada poisonings and so on, where did this psychoanalysis part of it develop in you? Because it's all psychoanalytic, if you see.
Yeah, I'm interested in psychology. So I guess, as I mentioned, I like to know the reason why of everything. I like to go, I like to know why, the why of everything, and also why of human behavior. So, curiosity, yes.
Yeah, and one more thing, as your cousin and one of the Purandaris, do any of the Purandaris feature in that book of yours?
Well, you'll have to read and find out.
And are they going to sue her? Why I find fiction writing daunting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I?
You have a mic?
Regarding Purandaris, I have visited your Kaspa home here before 45 years back.
Oh,
Group Captain S.R. Purandare was my boss there.
oh, I see.
And for 5 years we worked together.
Uh-huh.
So therefore my question is, intrigue and machinations are compelling
Can we
reasons.
have a mic here? Can we have a mic here?
I was about to ask.
No, he
He got one.
yeah.
I am Air Commodore Pankaj Mehrotra. And I prefer to read what I have written so that it cannot be misconstrued at all. Intrigue and machinations are compelling reasons for selecting a sequence or a narrative. Generally, in all crime fictions. Did you choose a Rajwada theme because it is so seductive?
Well, actually, the seed of the story came from the treasure hunt. And then the most logical thing was that it's such a massive amount of treasure. I just feel, then the royal family came into it. But I really don't want to go too deep into that.
Of course.
But that was the reason. The seed was the treasure. That was the seed.
And the treasure was planted in your childhood because you're always fond of treasures, you said.
No, it was just like when I was reading history, I just, about the Peshwas and all. So this was something very mysterious. The fact that you have a treasure worth thousands of crores, which is, nobody knows where it is. The Nepal government did search for it, but they never found it. So it was just something, a bee in my bonnet, you can say.
Thank you very much.
Can we have the mic here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have the mic and then we...
I'm Sridhar from Pune International Center. So I had one question. As a journalist, being a journalist, did it help in writing this book? And were you also doing a lot of investigative journalism while you are in your job? And just additional question is, what do you think about the journalism done in the TV nowadays about all this crime investigation, etc.? Thank you.
Okay, that's quite a long question. But yes, my journalism career definitely helped me to write. Because if you see, I don't write literary stuff and I don't write really romance in such. So in the second one, there's just a bit of it. But, crime fiction is, like I mentioned earlier, it's more like a logistic exercise. And just like journalism, when you go and you write a story, I have written on crime. When I was working for Telegraph, I used to cover the crime over there. I used to write features basically. Then I've done a lot of business journalism. So everything it's all very structured. So yes, it helped me a lot. And if the second part you said about today's journalism, I'm not very impressed.
Okay.
But I don't blame the journalists because I know what it is like when I was working is that the deadlines are too many. They just say, go here and give me the story in 12 hours. And we used to work till late at night and it's not like abroad, where in Western countries, you get 1 month to write a story. Here you get 1 day. What are the journalists supposed to do? So I don't really, what I do blame this whole system. At one time, you used to actually have editors who call the shots. But today, I know I'm criticizing journalism in a very sweeping manner. But the fact is today, all the billionaires are running the media. And they're all in cahoots with the government. So the actual editors, just don't have enough clout to write genuine stories. So I don't blame journalists at all. Yeah.
So we need a mic here. can it be passed here? To the first row.
I'm Shripad Mirashi. I'm the founder, PIC member. First, I compliment both of you for a very lively discussion.
Thank you.
The second question, which is the question, how much help you take from artificial intelligence for drafting and as well as for the stories?
Nil. Zero.
Lovely, excellent. But she is an honest writer.
You know, but if you want me to elaborate, I can. Is that artificial intelligence? It has no soul. It's empty. It's hollow. So you can't really tell it to write a story because it will just take whatever is available and then make something up. And there is something called hallucination also. It also hallucinates. So, the only way your book can be interesting to a reader is if your soul is in that book. Otherwise, readers are going to lose interest.
May I say something?
Yes.
One of my friend, he wrote a similar book. And I wanted to appreciate that. And I asked the question to artificial intelligence, this is the book, please give me a draft of the letter. And I got a very beautiful draft.
Yeah, AI is very good for writing letters, that's for sure.
So maybe it's good for summarizing things and that sort of
Yes.
thing. But
Yeah, for business writing.
But to create something that's really, really unique, it will have to be a human. As I said, amalgamating characters, drawing from real life, drawing from your own life. That's what breathes life into characters, settings, Any other questions? Can we have a mic here?
Ravi Kulkarni, not a Purandare.
Okay.
Just one simple question came. Do you have clarity about the end of your book, or it evolves over as you write the book?
What?
The theme and the real how you're going to end the book.
How I'm going to?
End the book.
No, I have no idea. Like when I start off, like I have my characters in my head, and I have some suspicious characters and some good characters, and then when somebody dies, then I don't know who the killer is. I don't.
That's great.
Yeah. The characters, they propel the story because just now, if there is a dead body here, each one of you is going to react differently. Each one.
So you are saying that you create the characters and characters create the story.
Yes, the characters, in fact, once you know your characters, the story is very easy. I don't have any problem. And I keep hearing about writers getting stuck in the middle of the story. I never get stuck because I know them so well. I know how they're going to react. You have to put an obstacle in front of them. And then you know how that person is going to react. One person could break down, one person will, become aggressive. So it's all, the story writes itself.
Thank you.
And I came to know the killer right in the last few chapters. Yeah.
So Neeta, your input about maintaining files about each character then becomes just totally vitally important, right?
Yes. Yeah. There's.
Hello. Firstly, congratulations, Neeta. I was actually just sitting here and looking at the book cover. And is there an explanation to the drawings there? Is there a clue in it?
In the cover.
The book cover, yeah? Ah, okay. And anything more would be giving away a little bit? telling us a little more about the book cover, would it mean a spoiler? Ah, okay.
Yeah, we have, I think we have 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes more. Yeah. So the last 1 or 2 questions, please. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
Yeah, Atul Joshi. Now we've been talking about killers and also.
On me.
Yeah, my question was, in your novels, how many suspects do you think should be enough? How many suspects in a plot, how many suspects should be enough? And how many red herrings do you think you should put to hide the killer when you plan a novel?
Just come close to just speak into the. Use mine.
Hello. Yeah. So there should be at least 2 red herrings, definitely, and suspect at least 3. Usually what I do in my first draft, I have more than 3, then I delete, because then it just seems to be going, gets bloated. But at least 3 suspects. But as the book goes on, the suspects keep reducing. And in the end, there are only 2 suspects. Those 2 suspects you have to keep right till the end, because you have to keep the reader guessing right till the end. So 2 though is the minimum. Yeah.
Throughout the book, you all have read James Hadley Chase during our 2 days and all. Invariably, we have experienced the last sentence of that chapter forces us to flip the next page, and that's how we used to read the book throughout the night. That was the catch. So do you incorporate something like that?
Yes, absolutely. I try very hard. I try hard to do that. But I don't know whether I always succeed. I used to also read a lot of James Hadley Chase. So actually when Mr. Ranade asked me that question, for a minute I was stumped, because I was a voracious reader throughout my childhood. So much so that my grandfather, he had a library, and before he died, he called me and he says, come with 2 sacks and take as many books as you want, So I used to read everything, and I really find it very difficult to say who's my favorite author. Yeah.
Yeah. One last, this is the last.
So mine is not really a question, but I've read a couple of chapters of your book, and one thing which sort of came out of that was some of the things that you mentioned is so characteristic of India, like the smell of that cooked tea, then being served that chai, which is very too much milk in the milk, and then also this whole conversation between the dynamics between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. So I think those are the things which have come from your own experience, or is that something that you wanted to add in for that flavor, or
there you
just
go.
Curious about that.
Well, my mother-in-law has passed away, so I think I better not say anything about her. But yes, every character has been taken from a real-life person. In fact, what my friend Aditi doesn't know is that the main character, it was her husband Datta, who was actually the reference for that character. She doesn't know that. Now it's a shock to her, probably. But it does happen. But that doesn't mean that that character is like that one exactly. It is yes. So yes, it's just you take that as a reference, and then you just imagine everything else. So it's not exactly. But so yes, everything is from real life.
The context is Indian then for this novel. Maybe some other novel later will have some other setting and context. Yeah, aliens, space. Who knows?
Which I'm sure Vishal is not going to publish.
Should we allow one more? Allow one more? Okay, last one.
So yeah, my question really comes from Aarti's as a crime fiction writer, do you get tempted by temptation of making a social comment through your fiction?
Yes.
And
very,
how do you?
Absolutely. You know, I told you, I feel so strongly, and I feel very strongly because, as I said, no, I had the opportunities to do whatever I wanted, but there are a lot of people in this country, especially women, who get married early, and they don't have, they may get married at 20. Like, in fact, my character wanted to join the IFS, but she was a brilliant student. And she got married early, the marriage failed. So I have met a few people like them, brilliant women. I think all of us know people like that, brilliant girls who got into a marriage early, and they, before you really find yourself. And then if that marriage breaks down, if everything goes well, fine. But if it doesn't, then you are totally left on your own. So I think, and also I feel very strongly about corruption. So I definitely, in crime fiction, in fact, it is an indictment of society. If you see that everything is that.
So I think that's all the questions we can take. I have to hand over to the MC. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and definitely everyone here would agree that it was really a very interesting session to know what really goes behind the writer's mind and to know how the storytelling goes on. And being a researcher, I'm thankful that my job is only limited to academic writing and not writing any fiction. So I'd like now request Dinanath Kulkar, Director of Pune International Center, to please felicitate our author and our moderator. Sir, please. Thank you so much, sir. And as we all know, every great mystery has its final page, and today's evening has also come to conclusion. So first of all, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our author, Neeta Kulkarni, and our moderator, Amita Bambawale. Thank you so much, both of you, for putting up this beautiful discussion today. I would also like to thank our literary audience here for your keen participation and being here today evening. My gratitude also towards Geeta ma'am and all the PIC team for smooth coordination and all the behind the scene hard work. Once again, thank you all. I would also like to take 1 minute of your time to, as we all know, this is a gathering of avid readers. I would like to also bring to your attention about the new book launches that would be held in PIC in the coming days. So 28th, 20 May, we have a book discussion on the business of business is not just business. It will feature Sutaba Banerjee and Suhas Bakshi. It will be here in the PIC auditorium. And on the 22nd, we have a book release of Taming the Dragon about the India-China relations. And I think with the current visit of President Trump to China, I think it would be an interesting gathering. And I hope to see you all again here at Pune International Center. Thank you so much. And I think we can also have a small book signing session if it's okay with Neeta ma'am. So please, everyone is invited here. Thank you so much.